Hello and welcome everybody to our Sonotify Technology AI workshop. We're excited to have everybody here. We had 441 people register for this event. We couldn't be more excited. We've had a very good turnout, and our goal for these events is to provide useful information that your organization can use to take action today on AI. AI is mind-boggling to everybody out there, and it's such a beast to tackle. And we like to help companies focus on quick wins around AI, and so that's what this event is focused on: is quick AI wins for technology leaders. And we're even going to give some estimated costs of what it costs in order to do these. So we're excited. This is going to be both a business and a technical discussion. We're going to go through live proof of concepts that we built. My name, once again, is Steve Taplin. I am the CEO of Sonotify Technology. And joining me today is Dr. Antonio Tamayo, our lead AI engineer. And between the two of us, we usually put on a pretty damn good presentation. So I'm excited. We're glad to have everybody here. And let's jump in and get going. And once again, so Sonotify Technology, we are a US-based company that is focused on custom software development. We specifically have over 120 full-time engineers that work for our company today, all mid and senior level, focused around modern tech stacks, both cloud and mobile. And then we also have our AI consultancy. And a key part of what we do at Sonotify is a blend of US and Latin America resources where we can keep costs down while deliver top-notch solutions. We have clients from Fortune 500 companies to startups to everywhere in between. This year is our second year making the Inc. 5000 fastest growing list. Our company over the past 3 years has grown 408%, according to the research that Inc. 5000 did when they published. So we're excited to provide value here, to get things going, and to help you. And from an AI perspective in our AI consultancy, as I mentioned, Dr. Antonio Tamayo leads that. Antonio has a PhD in computer science with a focus around machine learning and AI. We use a lot of different industry tools for implementing our AI solutions. And our main approach that we like to take with clients is let's talk through some challenges you're having with AI. Let's talk about, some problems you're trying to solve. And our approach is to go ahead and build free prototypes. Yes, I said free. Let us prove out the concept of what you're trying to do. Give us data, or we'll get sample data, or we can take scrub data, and let us build models to be able to prove out the use case of what you want to do. And we've seen tech leaders have phenomenal luck using these prototypes to get buy-in from other both tech and non-technical leaders throughout their organizations, board members, and it helps accelerate projects. And the way we like to attack AI, it kind of goes to the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's how we like to go about our AI solutions, and how we go about them with clients is let's start picking, challenges you're having. Let's look at what we can implement quick, what we can implement easily, and get those things started and get the momentum going. Certainly, anyone who's on this call knows the importance of AI in modern business. We have seen throughout our network of clients and prospective clients, we've seen technical leaders get fired a lot when their organization has the impression that they're not moving forward with AI initiatives. Now, one of the problems that we see tech leaders have is non-technical people do not understand AI to the level that technical people do. And let's face it, we're all learning. It's a rapidly evolving technology with a lot of different components. And so this is another reason why we started these quick wins, so that tech leaders can quantify to both, once again, technical and non-technical stakeholders advancements that the companies are making. And so our objective here for this presentation is to go through best practices, challenges, mitigation strategies, and talk through challenges that we've solved and how we've gone about that. And so when you're talking of the world of artificial intelligence, everybody out there seems to have different definitions or different understandings. And we like to sum it up that artificial intelligence refers to the comprehensive field, which includes machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. Machine learning itself is a branch of AI, taking algorithms and learning patterns from data. Deep learning is a specialized domain within machine learning that utilizes complex neural networks with multiple layers to be able to analyze and interpret data. And then generative AI is the advanced form of all of these things together that are extrapolating patterns and giving human-like approaches. And so this is how we like to describe the world of AI, the different components of it, and how we attack it, because when we break down each solution, we're often using different components to accomplish what we're looking for. And so, once again, we're focused on quick wins with these AIs. We're going to, Antonio is going to take us through some of the demos that we've built and proof of concepts and how we went about that. And these are all live on our website as well, in this section where it says try our AI demo directory, and it gives the website path for it. We have created proof of concepts for healthcare and life sciences, sourcing and recruitment, social media, business management, invoicing. We have some sales ones that were coming out shortly. But we have live demos on the site that you can play with, where we have sample data or sample questions, or you can pull in your own. And so that's going to be the focus here. And although the tools we use for different models vary, we're often using PyTorch, Python, Pandas, and we're fine-tuning the most powerful large language models. And Antonio will go through that in greater depth here. So with that said, let's jump right in here. Antonio, I'm going to turn the floor to you here, and let's talk about information extraction.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve, and hi, everyone. Very excited to stay here with this new AI workshop. And in order to show you a quick AI wins, we are going to talk about different applications of one of the most interesting areas of artificial intelligence, which is natural language processing. So first of all, we want to show you some applications about information extraction. But in this case, we want to show you information extraction from PDFs. Why? Because we realized that most of the information that we are working on every day are in PDF format. So information extraction from PDFs is a very powerful tool if we want to identify patterns and if we want to extract information to integrate new systems with existing systems. For example, we can identify applications for CV analysis and candidate selection, or we can automate invoice processing or contract analysis, finance report extractions, and so on. We can apply information extraction from PDFs in different domains, and keep in mind that we are going to show you some use cases, but we can extrapolate these use cases to your own business. For example, we can apply this for insurance claims processing, real estate document management, and of course, medical records processing. So that's a very interesting approach of information extraction, an interesting approach of natural language processing. Go to the next one, please.
I will make the comment that here we are deep into 2024, and it does surprise me how many businesses are still dealing with whether it's paper documents or PDF files.
Yeah.
And sure, there's lots of programs out there that can scan a PDF and bring it into a document-like format. But the approach that you have built, where we're actually turning them into a JSON file so it can be imported directly, it's just amazed me how many businesses are still toying with manual paper, PDF invoices. In the technology age, I guess I thought everybody would be farther along.
Yeah, but that's true. That's a very common case, and that's interesting to extract information from PDF for that. The first demo that we are going to show you is the CV analysis and candidate selection. So in this case, with this type of model, we can develop an AI model to extract key information from CVs, such as the candidate name, contact information, skills, experience, and so on. And it has benefits because with this type of system, we can carry out a faster identification of suitable candidates, for example. And obviously, this involves costs in data processing, initial setup, model training, deployment, and obviously in integration with existing system in this case. But that's a very interesting use case because we can identify the best candidate for a specific position for our company, just put in the position and maybe some requirements or specific requirements for our position, and we can analyze several CVs in the PDF format, and we can get a rank with the best candidates and with an explanation in fractions of a second. So go to the next one, please. Here we can see the user interface for our demo for CV analysis and candidate selection. This is a user-friendly user interface. And here you can see that just put in the name of the position, and we can put a job description. This is optional, and we can specify unique internal requirements for a position, and we can upload several CVs that we have for this position, the candidates that we have for the position. And in fraction of a seconds with this system, we can get an analysis of all the CVs in PDF format with considering all the details that the candidates put on the CVs, and we can get a rank in fractions of a seconds. Go to the next one to see the results that we can achieve with this system. So here in this example, we are looking for a machine learning engineer. So we have several CVs in PDF format for this position with candidates with different skills, different experience, and in fractions of a second, we can identify the best candidate for our position, and we can get a rank and a justification, right? An explanation for the decision that the system is taking for us. This is a very powerful tool. We can use it as an initial filter for our talent acquisition area in our company. And behind the scenes, here we have a combination of the most recent advances in AI, specifically in natural language processing. We're using a very powerful large language model together with other strategies to extract the most accurate information that we need to take a decision about the best candidate for a position. So that's a very useful tool.
And so, Antonio, and to all our guests, feel free to ask questions in the banner, or I'm sorry, in the comments section. We'd be happy to answer them as we go, or if more appropriate, towards the end. Real quickly, Antonio, that we did have a question come in, and can you talk about, we're currently hosting all of our AI demos in AWS. Can you talk about the tech stack used for this particular demo and the specific tools?
Yeah, of course. This is a tool developed in Django using Python, and we're using an EC2 instance on AWS for this demo. In this case, we're integrating different technologies in the back, and we are using OpenAI and different large language models and different strategies associated with prompt engineering specifically for this case. And to talk about the infrastructure, we're using just an EC2 instance on AWS, and we are communicating the backend with an API in OpenAI. That's it. Mm-hmm. So another interesting example of this technologies is associated with the medical records processing. In this case, we can extract information from EHRs, for example. We can implement and we can develop a model to extract patient information, diagnosis, treatment plans, and so on. All the information associated with a patient. It has good benefits because we can enhance data accessibility for healthcare providers, for example, and we can integrate this type of solution with existing systems, right? So in this case, we will have involved costs in data processing, maybe annotation. It depends on the needs that we will need. It depends on the requirements, but we will have data processing, initial setup, then a model training, the deployment of the AI model, and then we need to carry out in the integration with EHR systems. That's a very good use case, and let me show you the other demo that we have available in our landing page. So here's in the user interface for this demo. In this case, you can upload a PDF, an EHR in PDF format, and you can specify the information that you want to extract from the PDF associated with the history of the patient. So we have some examples here. You can put, for example, medication taken by the patient or patient allergies, patient family history, whatever you want to extract from the PDF with the EHR, right? So in this case, we're specifying patient's allergies and patient's family history, and go to the next one to see the results that we have. So the system is analyzing the PDF with all the information associated with the patient and is looking for the specific information that you want to extract, and the system can show the information in this format. We can adapt the format. Obviously, it depends on the system that you want to integrate with this, but in this case, we can see that with this type of system, we can enhance the medical health system, for example, and we can improve the time consuming during appointments or something like that. That's a very common use case, and this is very powerful because we are carrying out information extraction from PDFs.
And Antonio, what surprised me about this use case was that we've come across companies, whether they do medical claim processing or there's some ancillary service, whether it's tied to insurance, whether it's tied to billing, and the fact that they didn't have direct access to the EHR records and they only had PDF records. So I was surprised that this was even a use case when we built this out for one of our clients, that they needed to extract even this info off a PDF, that they couldn't get direct access to the EHR.
Yeah, that's true. And if we can extract information from PDFs and we can put that information in a format that we need to integrate with other systems, this is a very useful use case, right? So that's a good point. But I've shown about the use cases using generative AI, right? Because we are using prompt engineering and together with other techniques of machine learning and maybe regular expression or something like that to deal with the text. But sometimes we need more specific solutions. So that's the reason we are showing here the sequence labeling approach. Sequence labeling is a specific task of natural language processing. In this case, sequence labeling is a fundamental problem in natural language processing that involves assigning a label, a categorical label, to each element in a sequence of input data. We can think of texts as sequences of words or lexical units, but in simple words, we're saying a sequence of words. So in many cases, we need to assign a specific label to each word. So sometimes generative AI is not enough to solve the problems that we have using texts. So sequence labeling is a very accurate approach that maybe we need to use in different domains. For example, in healthcare, finance, legal, retail, even in media and entertainment. Let me show you the next example. For sequence labeling applications, we need to implement models to extract maybe the same information that I mentioned before. Patient information, for example, in the healthcare domain, such as treatments or medications or something like that. But if you can't achieve the goals that you are looking for using generative AI, because there are very specific terms or there are nested entities, for example, that with generative AI you can't extract with the accuracy that you are looking for, you need to think of sequence labeling, right? So we can apply sequence labeling in whatever domain, but it depends on the data that we have, because if we want to apply the sequence labeling approach, we need a data set tagged for these purposes. So we need to assign a label for each word according to the needs that we have. So if we can get the data set that we need to apply this approach, we will have benefits, obviously, because we could improve documentation, we can enhance information retrieval, for example, and enhance analysis and so on. That's a very powerful approach of natural language processing. In this case, maybe the most important part, talking about the costs here, is in the data pre-processing, because we need to get the data set that we need to train a model for this approach. Let me show you an example, and we will see the powerful of this approach. Before to that, I need to talk about the need that we need to apply sequence labeling instead of generative AI. Nowadays, many people think that with generative AI, we can achieve whatever we want because generative AI is artificial intelligence, right? So many people are thinking of that, but we saw that artificial intelligence is a wide area and we have the specific sub areas inside it. So if we want to achieve specific goals and we are applying sequence labeling, maybe with generative AI, we can't achieve precision and control, or the precision and control that we are looking for. And when we need to specify a specific structure outputs, we can apply sequence labeling instead of generative AI. Many times we can achieve better results with sequence labeling. For example, if we are looking for transparency and interpretability, so the sequence labeling approach can be applied with traditional machine learning models, for example, conditional random fields. And using those type of models, we can get interpretability, right? But if we are using generative AI or we are using deep learning with artificial neural networks, we won't have that, right? So on the other hand, for very specific problems, we can achieve good results associated with efficiency. And maybe if we have limited data, if we don't have a vast amount of data, maybe we need to think of sequence labeling instead of generative AI, because we can achieve better results with small data sets in comparison with the results that we can achieve using generative AI. And finally, we can apply the sequence labeling approach for specificity in complex tasks, for example. So here we have only 6 aspects that we should keep in mind if we are thinking of that, right? So this is our demo to identify medications and adverse drugs events, right? Adverse side effects of medications. This is a specific demonstration in the healthcare of a sequence labeling problem. So here in this demo, you can put a text in a medical domain, and in fractions of a second, you can identify medications and the adverse side effects. But behind the scenes, we are not applying generative AI. We are not applying prompt engineering, fine-tuning, something like that. We are applying a sequence labeling approach. So for this model, we used a data set that we prepared before to train the model, assigning the correct label to each word to identify the medications and very specific medications and the adverse effects that we identified in the texts. So this is the result that we can achieve with this model. So that's this is very specific.
Antonio, what really caught my attention when we were asked to build this one was that a typical doctor often has to see anywhere from 50 to 70 patients a day or per shift. And there's thousands of drugs out there. And this seems really, well, you know, they can't know the medication and adverse side effects of every drug, and they need something that can help them point to the quick and easy. And it kind of, that use case just surprised me, the mass volume of how doctors need to see patients and how quickly they need the info, because you obviously can't know everything about thousands and thousands of drugs.
Yeah, of course. That's a good point. And consider that so many times using generative AI, we can't achieve the results that we achieve with this approach because sometimes we have nested entities, right? We need to identify nested entities. When I'm talking about entities, in this case, I'm talking about the medications, mentions, and the adverse side effects. So this is a very specific use case, but it's really useful. Right. So the next one. On the other hand, we are going to show you another use case using generative AI, in this case, a virtual assistant. With a virtual assistant, we can achieve good results, and we can develop systems to answer questions, to schedule appointments, and provide relevant information, for example, automatically. So with this type of solutions, we can have good benefits because it allows users to focus on more critical work, for example, while the system can assist us with maybe simple tasks, but with the advances that we have nowadays, we can have a very accurate virtual assistant for maybe some mid or complex tasks. So that's a very interesting approach also. In this case, to talk about the involved costs, we need to talk about the data preprocessing. In this case, it depends on the approach that we need here, because maybe we need to annotate some data set, but if we are thinking of prompt engineering or something like that with generative AI, maybe we can use just the texts, just the data that we have in our business to train a model of this type. So we will need an initial setup, the development, and so on. Here we have another demo that we have available for you. This is a virtual assistant in the healthcare in this case, and you can put some question or some text associated with an inquiry that you have, some question, and you can get a concept, right? Such a medical concept in fractions of a second. For example, in this case, we are asking about the potential causes of restrictive lung disease, for example. And the results that we can achieve is a a really quick concept. Go to the next one, please. And in this case, we have this concept. This is a very powerful system that could be used as a initial filter, for example, in a medical health, because we know that the final concept is done by a doctor, for example, but this is a very powerful system in order to identify diseases, identify symptoms, or to suggest something before the doctor can analyze your specific case.
Mm-hmm. And Antonio, we did another virtual assistant for a manufacturing company that they had kind of an issue that their sales team was being asked, in general, the same 50, 60 questions, sometimes asked in different ways. And when we, as we've been building out the virtual assistant for that sales question scenario, how would you say that differed from the approach of doing a virtual assistant for the healthcare domain?
Yeah, it depends on the data that we have, but that's a very good example, because if you have a process that you identify when you have very repetitive answers, for example, or if you're looking for an assistant to get answers from the different questions that you're receiving every day in your email, we can apply different approaches of artificial intelligence to automate that process. In the case that you're mentioning, we used prompt engineering, and we used a very interesting approach of natural language processing to identify the similarity between the questions that the client is receiving every day with the common questions that they have in their data. So calculating the similarity of the text, we can identify the most accurate response for each of the questions that they have. And that's a very interesting approach. And then we can implement an integration with the server, the email server that they are using. So with different technologies, and it depends on the technology that you are using, but that's an interesting use case. So finally, we're going to show you another interesting application of natural language processing. This is called sentiment analysis. In sentiment analysis, we are looking for a label or for an opinion, right? So with sentiment analysis, we can read a text automatically, and we can say if the opinion of the author is positive, negative, or neutral. So this is a very powerful tool, because we can classify the opinions about our services, about our products, or something like that. Even we can apply sentiment analysis in different domains, including healthcare or whatever you want. So when you have a vast amount of data and you don't have the time to analyze all the suggestions or the comments, all the text that you have in your business, you can apply sentiment analysis with a model to read the whole text that you have, the whole comments, and you can get a general perspective of about your product or your service. So that's the benefits with sentiment analysis. We will involve in the same costs in this case, data preprocessing, annotation, if you don't have the data set, because in this case, we are not talking about generative AI. We're talking about a natural language processing and a specific problem of natural language processing that we call sequence labeling, sequence classification. Sequence classification, because we have a text, we have a sequence of words, and we want to assign a label. We want to assign a class for the text. In this case, positive, negative, or neutral. So let me go to the demo. And we have a demo available for sentiment analysis also. That's a very simple user interface, user-friendly interface. You can put a text here using emojis if you want, or whatever you want. You can include grammar mistakes or something like that. That's a very important point here, because the system has the capability to deal with that. And in fractions of a second, we can get the classification for this comment, for this message, for this suggestion. In this case, this is positive, but in the next one, we have, for example, a neutral. And if you have a negative, the system has the ability to identify that. So that's a very common use case. You want to say something?
We've seen, on one point that seems very basic, like, hey, you're just saying if it's positive, negative, or neutral. But for certain types of business that they might get, hundreds of comments a day on their products, on what they're doing, to be able to, if someone's got to read them manually and create manual reports, that can be very hard, where we've been able to implement this, where whether it's daily or weekly, we can run an analysis on all the reviews, give a summarized report based on this. And we've definitely seen this be a useful tool for the type of businesses that are getting a lot of comments, a lot of reviews, a lot of stuff. If you're only getting a couple a week or less, it's easy for someone to read this. But when you have high volume, that's where we've really seen this come into play and have a great benefit for companies.
Mm-hmm. And this is just a general case of sentiment analysis, because we can go through with this problem and we can specify the opinion for a specific aspect inside the text. For example, not for the full, we can identify the product that the author is talking about, and we can identify the aspect or the entity that they are talking about, and we can assign and we can identify the opinion about those specific aspects inside the text. So that's a very powerful tool. Great. So to talk about the general process to implement AI solutions, like I've shown above, we need to talk about the steps to start an AI project. And here we are showing maybe the most relevant steps that we need to consider. Maybe the most important is the first one, identifying a business problem. Because we realize that so many people want to apply artificial intelligence or generative AI in their business, but if you don't have a specific problem to tackle, we can't apply artificial intelligence. So the first step is to identify a problem, to identify a need, and then we need to see what data you have, right? We need to gather and prepare the data, because data conditions the type of AI solution that we can develop. It depends on the data that you have, depends on the type of variables, it depends on the type of problem that we want to tackle, if we have the data that we need to develop a model. So maybe identify the problem and a search for the specific data that we need to develop a model are the most important, the most relevant aspects here to start an AI project. And then if we have a specific problem and we have the data that we need to develop a model, we can go to select the appropriate AI model or the appropriate AI strategy, because it depends on the data that you have, that we can decide if we can apply machine learning, or if we can apply generative AI, if we need computer vision, natural language processing algorithms. It depends on the data and it depends on the problem that you have. And after that, if we have an AI model, we need to build that, we need to train, we need to fine-tune the hyperparameters of the model, and then we can deploy the model. During these 4 steps, we need to consider the talent that we need, data scientists, engineers, or domain experts to work together in order to achieve the goals that we have. And obviously, we need to think about the technology that we will need, the software that we will need, hardware, cloud services, or maybe if we are looking for an on-premise solution using our own servers, we need to combine these technologies in a hybrid solution, for example. And obviously, we need to consider the managing of the AI projects, agile methodologies, and continuous and monitoring improvement.
So before we jump into the costs that we've seen involved in implementing these, I want to pull up some of the questions, and we appreciate people joining. And this question was from John. And John asked, do you have any green LLM built or using API from OpenAI, etc.?
For the demo that we have right now, we are using a specific large language model from OpenAI. Thinking of that, also, we are using the GPT-4o mini in our case.
Excellent. And John, thank you for the question. And John had another question here around any self-service or unattended process implementation.
No. Maybe if you can specify some details.
Gotcha. Yeah, John, if you're still with us and you could put in more details on that, that would be great. Here is another question from Daraj. Do we use a private database or RAG?
Yeah, private data store. For our demos, we are using our own data to train the models, and in some cases, we're using some databases that we bought for that purposes. And about RAG, it depends on the solutions that we are developing. That's a very good approach, a very good paradigm. That's very recent, and we are working on that also.
Excellent. And let's take one more question here, and we'll talk about the costs involved. And this is from Katish. AI without business process change seems like a bad ROI. Thoughts from your experience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the first and the second point that we have in this slide. You need to identify your problem, you need to identify your need, and then we need to search and we need to analyze the data that you have before to apply AI. Because maybe you can apply AI without the specific analysis, but maybe the ROI will be really bad. I think so, because you need to identify a specific problem, and it depends on the data that you have that we can achieve good results with AI. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks for the questions, and feel free, if anyone has more questions, put them in the comments. We're happy to address those. And let's talk now about the costs involved in building an AI model for solving an issue. We like to break it down into a two-step process. And Antonio, why don't you kind of talk about each steps, and I will elaborate on the costs involved.
Yeah, of course. This first step is associated with maybe these four subtasks or sub-steps when we are talking about AI models or AI solutions. The first one is the data preprocessing, and obviously before this we need to identify the problem that we want to tackle, that we are looking for. And during the data preprocessing, we need to analyze the data, the type of variables that we have. We need to clean the data. We need to preprocess all the data. And this is common called as extraction, transformation, and lowering. That's the ETL process. And after that, when we have the data in a format that we need to develop a model, we will have an initial setup to define the infrastructure and the tools that we want to use for this specific problem. During this phase, we need to define if we want to use cloud services or services on premise or something like that. And we need to define the tools that we will need to achieve the goals that we have. And after that,
let's go back to the data preprocessing for a minute. So I think we would all agree one of the biggest challenges, if anyone who's jumped into AI, is what's the problem you want to solve, and then how do we get the data in the right format so that we can train it. And so we have kind of a wide range based on projects we've done, what we've seen with clients for this phase of it, where, and we've actually seen it be a lot lower than 5,000, but we've also seen complex challenges where data really needed to be reworked, where it was a lot more. And one of the goals here was we really wanted to make sure to give people just a range of estimates of implementing these AI solutions. And so then once we have the right data, and this is making the assumption that we're picking a challenge to solve, we're getting the data for that, then the initial setup with the infrastructure and tools. We're big on using AWS. We've done them on client environments. We've done some in Azure as well. And then making sure we have the right tools involved. Depending on the data and what we're doing, this cost is usually pretty small. We've seen this be much less than 3,000, but once again, we wanted to give a range because the complexity of the data and what we're trying to do is a big part of it. So now, when we look at model training, and Antonio, I'll let you talk about this. This is, we've also seen a wide range of costs here around training the model, but if you could talk about the steps involved in that further.
Yeah, when we have the data, maybe we can pass to the training. And here in this part, we need to identify the best model to solve the problem that we have. We need to identify the best features according to the data set that we have. We need to carry out fine-tuning if we are talking about large language models, or we need to talk about hyperparameter tuning if we are talking about traditional machine learning models. Also, in this phase, we can carry out dimensionality reduction, for example. And in general, in this phase, we identify the best solution, the best algorithm that we can use to achieve the goals that we have. And after that, we need to deploy the model. And in this case, we need to think about the infrastructure for deployment. And it depends on the needs. It depends on the specific project that we have, because we need to decide if we will use a specific cloud provider, or if we will use a hybrid solution or on-premise or something like that. But that's in general the process that we have for extraction, transformation, loading, and training and deployment, the AI model.
And so we like to call this step one of building out. And as part of what we do with Sononify with our clients is we will build the initial proof of concept, which includes all these steps, and we will build that for free. We'll base it on a subset of data. We will set the infrastructure up, we'll train the model, and we'll have a demo environment deployed. But then when you're ready to bring it in production, these are some more realistic costs after the proof of concept of this step. So we're estimating, and once again, a lot of this depends on complexity of the data, how well structured the problem we're trying to solve, but a range of anywhere from 23,000 to 230,000 for this step. And this is essentially setting it up and training it. Now let's talk about the deployment of it. And this is where it could get a little more complex, depending on what we're doing, how we're going about it. But Antonio, why don't you start kind of talking through these steps of now we've not only done a proof of concept, but now we've got the model ready and now we have to deploy it.
Yeah, of course. This is a very important part because when we have a system based on an artificial intelligence model, of the core of the system is artificial intelligence, we can develop the AI model, but after that we need to integrate the AI solution with an existing system, for example, or we need to integrate the AI solution, the AI model, with a new web application or a mobile application, for example. So this is relevant to deploy a real system using artificial intelligence, not only a demo. So the first part is associated with the development of APIs. That's the common case. When we deploy an AI model, we need to allocate that maybe in a cloud provider, for example, in some part in AWS, Azure, or GCP, to say something. And we need to expose the AI model using an API. So that's the common case in this part. And after that, it depends on the type of system that we are working on. We can use generative AI, for example, and we need to consider the generative AI costs, for example, for prompt engineering, and it depends on the provider of the generative AI in this case. And we can combine those steps in order to integrate the AI solution that we developed before. And after that, if we decide to use cloud services or a hybrid system, we will use APIs in order to integrate all the system and finally to deploy and to go with that in production.
And so we like to break it down in this manner of to give, because I think everybody out there is still trying to figure out what it's going to cost, how you're going to do it. And this cost example is meant of let's find a problem we're trying to solve. Let's train a model to do it. And then let's look at deploying it in your environment. And as Antonio mentioned, integration with existing systems. Sometimes this could be really easy. Sometimes it could be complex. Sometimes we're talking about an API into one system, whether it's Salesforce or Microsoft Office 365 or something else. We've had clients that we have to integrate with over 19 systems. And yep. So a lot of it is based on your existing environment, how we want to use this. Mm-hmm. And then, as Antonio mentioned, you have the generative AI specific costs of the prompt engineering. Testing and validation is always important. You always have to continue to test and refine and monitor the models, and then your LLM usage charges. And so we wanted to provide this example just to kind of give people an idea of potential cost rangings for implementing specific AI projects for everyone. We hope this was useful. This is always a question we get, and it is hard. Anyone who's architected and deployed any of these solutions, there are so many variables that it can be challenging to break it down and give realistic ranges. But all of these ranges we've given are what we've seen in deploying these solutions. And so, with that, it is important that, and we're always telling clients that you have to look at a cost-benefit analysis of implementing AI in your systems, what you're trying to accomplish. We do offer free one-on-one AI workshops that we conduct with clients. And a big thing that we like to do for clients who don't have a roadmap built out from an AI perspective is we'll offer to build a free AI roadmap for you. That usually consists of multiple meetings outside of the initial workshop that we're doing information exchange, we're interviewing stakeholders, and then defining an AI roadmap. Making sure to look at ROI on on the projects and what you're looking for. We also, when we do workshops with people, we like to, if you haven't heard of this website, it's called there'sanaIforthat.com. And it's an interesting website that is an aggregator of different AI tools that have already been built. And this is one of the better aggregator sites that we've seen. And, we like to point people to that. Now, that site can be overwhelming because there are tens of thousands of different AI tools on there. They do have some good search capabilities. But you always want to look at, are there existing tools to leverage versus what we need to build from ground up? And that's always a big part of it. Making sure we've gone with this approach. I wish I could say it's because we're geniuses, but I like to joke. You do it long enough, and you figure out how to do it right. And we have found when we can build out free proof of concepts for clients, for technical leaders, it helps them significantly get buy-in from the rest of the organization, both technical and non-technical stakeholders, which is important as we're seeing technical leaders lose their jobs because others don't understand that. So these are all key aspects to look at when you're going through. We wanted to put up, while we still have a little bit of time, some common questions that we have gotten throughout the workshops we've done. We'll try to get through as many of these as possible. We want to respect everybody's time. The first question here is, since LLMs are constantly evolving and changing, how is it easier to change or update your data and switch LLMs? And Antonio, will you address that?
Yeah, that's as I mentioned there, that's a common use case, and obviously we need to consider that the LLMs are changing and all the time, and that's a very common use case. We can develop a very good designs, pipelines, and a very well architect system, and we can consider that, and we can change an LLM if we are getting better results with the new one. And obviously we can design an architecture in order to improve our system every day. So that's a very good question, and that's a common use case. We have the ML ops, ML operations paradigm right now, and we can use very good patterns in order to achieve this type of issues.
And the ultimate question we always get is, how do you ensure data quality?
Yeah, that's a very, very common question, and that's very important. It depends on the type of project you are working on, because you can define data validation manually, or you can design an automatic validation. It depends on that, and it depends on the needs that you have. But there are those two approaches. You can validate data manually, or if you prefer, or for your specific solution, you can use automatic validation. You will think in these steps that we will put here.
Thank you, Antonio. Some other quick questions. Well, we have 2 minutes left here. When we do build proof of concepts, we're often asked, where is the demo hosted? And if we're hosting it, we're typically doing it in AWS, but we've also hosted it on client sites and or client servers or their cloud environments. It typically takes us anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks once we have sample data to get a demo environment up and running. We're often asked, what are the costs involved with us building a demo? And as long as we're hosting it, it is free for us to build this, and it's meant to be a proof of concept that then we focus on building out from there. And we do keep this private and confidential. Often when we're doing these proof of concepts, we like to make sure to use scrub data. And once again, these are really meant to get buy-in. And so we all know AI is a powerful tool. We really appreciate everybody coming on this call. Anybody who's on this call, we're happy to do a one-on-one workshop with you and your company. We'll also provide you an ebook that includes all the information that we've covered today. And we really appreciate your time. We're excited to educate people on AI and help everybody make the best use of it. Antonio, as always, great job. Pleasure presenting with you. Thank you, everybody who joined. Everybody have a great day.